Welcome back to another review, and in today's one I'm in a South African favorite. Now I mean South African favorite because during the week that I've had this and almost every day that I've driven it, I've been pointed at, I've been waved at, I've been told to stop so they can look, I've been asked to bring my window down just so people can say, dude, that car is epic. This is the new Toyota Land Cruiser Prado. Let's get into it. Okay, so the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado. Now this is an exciting one because we've been waiting over 10 years for a new Prado to come out. And boy, did Toyota deliver, because this design, the take, everything on this car is so revolutionary. I mean, it's not evolutionary. We didn't expect it to look like this. But when it came out, I think everybody loved it. And I think that came down to the styling, because everyone is so tired of seeing these new cars that are just curvy and they're round and they're all starting to look the same, right? So what they've done here is they've brought this old school style, this retro elements, and I think together with all of the straight lines and square lines and rectangles all over, from the lights to the grille to the overall shape of the car, the front profile, the side, the back, it's a very good looking SUV. It stands out on the road, it's imposing, and it lives up to what a Land Cruiser should be. And just a moment ago I did say revolutionary, because on the inside here it is. There's digital screens for the driver. There's a huge infotainment in the center here to house your car settings and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so you can view your 360 camera system, your reverse cameras, and all of that. This is packed with technology, and it now looks like it lives and can live in 2024 going forward, because I think that they've completely future-proofed this car and what you can do with this interior. But as with the trend with making everything digital screens on the inside of cars, is that people have now, brands have kind of lost the need to put buttons and dials in cars. And that's not the case here, because Toyota has still kept all of that. The settings that you can do and that you can work with in the big screen are quite limited. So the reason it's there is literally more for your entertainment than anything, because underneath that you've still got a separated climate control with actual buttons and little switches and things that you can interact with physically, right? Which is perfect for when you're driving, because you don't want to be tapping on the screen and working through all of those settings like that. That's annoying. And to add to that, you've also got buttons and dials to use to change your different drive modes, especially when going off-road as well. Now, when you're driving, that's how simple things need to be, because you don't want to be distracted by screens. We hate that here at Greg Dennis Reviews. But to add to the simplicity of this climate control is that it also houses everything for your seats. So you've got also just a simple tap of the button, you can turn on your heating seats, and at the simple tap of a button, you can also turn on your cooled seats. So there's a lot of functionality held here in your buttons, which is easy to use, right? And also at a simple touch of a button here, you can also now start to operate the climate control in the rear. So very convenient and very handy and easy to use while you're driving. This is a Toyota. It needs to be simple, and all you want to do is just drive and enjoy it and not get irritated. And so far, I'm very happy. Now, before I go into more details about the specification and features, I want to chat pricing, because now when you go buy a new Prado, you can choose between the VXR as well as the TX. Now the TX is your entry level, and that's going to set you back just over 1.2 million rand. And then the VXR is going to set you back just over 1.4 million rand. But when this car was launched, there was a third option, which was the first edition, which was also just over that 1.4 million rand mark, slightly more expensive than the VXR, but it gave you some cool things like first edition badging, and also some really cool round headlights in the front, because what you get on this one are more rectangular. So you could also see from the front and exterior if someone was driving a more special version of the Prado like that first edition. Now what I'm driving today is the VXR, so this is now technically would be the top of the range version at what you can buy, and you can feel it because it's comfortable, it's filled with premium materials, it's got a lot of features, it's got a lot of tech and a lot of kit, and at just over 1.4 million rand, I think that that's a pretty reasonable buy and a pretty reasonable pricing for that. Because if I had to compare it to my other favorite off-road SUV, the Land Rover Defender, that starts at 1.6 million Rand for the Defender 90, so a two-door version. But at just over 1.4 million Rand, here you're getting a big four-door SUV that can seat 7 people, which you can't do in a Defender 90, which is now 200,000 Rand more than this. Yes, in the Defender you're getting air suspension and you're getting that inline 6-cylinder 3-liter turbo diesel engine with all the power that what you need. And unfortunately here you aren't getting that sort of power. But what is powering this new Prado range, all of them, is the same engine. It's the 2.8 liter 4-cylinder turbo diesel with 150 kilowatts and 500 newton meters of torque. So you're familiar with seeing this in the Fortuner and the Hilux. Now, as I've said, this is the only version you can buy or that you can get in the Prado. There is no other option. So if there was, like, let's say the first edition came out with a V6, that would have been probably quite epic because Toyotas love their 6 cylinders. But unfortunately that's not the case, and this 2.8 liter is actually quite nice. I enjoyed it in the other vehicles that I was in. It's quite responsive, it's pretty good on fuel, and I feel like it's carrying this car okay. Although this car is very heavy, I feel like it is straining a little bit on the engine. I feel like the Fortuner and like the Hilux do perform a little bit better with that because they are slightly lighter than this. But other than that, I think this is pretty good. Like I've said, it's responsive, it drives nicely, and matched with this 8-speed automatic transmission, which is also the first time in this car, I feel like together they work quite harmoniously to give you a really good driving experience. Now, as I mentioned, this engine is pretty good on fuel because I'm currently getting around 9.8 liters per 100 Ks, which is not too bad. I think Toyota claim around 7.9 or 7.8, 7.9, which hopefully you can get that if you're in those perfect driving environments and situations. But I think with that engine pulling this big car in day-to-day traffic like I'm currently in and have been for the week, I don't feel like just under 10 liters per 100 Ks is actually too bad. For this car, that size engine and everything you're getting as this entire package, I think that's pretty acceptable. Now I am going to quickly do an overtake, so let me put my foot down. It shifts okay. It's not the fastest, it's not a performance car, but I feel like it's definitely okay, and it is up there with some of the better cars that I've driven in terms of the gearbox. It's quite responsive, and I didn't have to wait too long for it to kick down. It's just that what I feel is the little lack of power in terms of how big this car is with the engine, so it's okay. And then to jump back into the features and specifications, now we chatted about the big infotainment with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but built into that, yes, there is a full 360 camera system, as well as that feature to show you what's underneath your car. So it kind of builds what's under your car based off of the memory of what you've just driven. So it stores that through the cameras and just displays it over the car, so you can always see and kind of see what's underneath your car, which is quite cool, especially for when you're going off-roading or needing to avoid certain obstacles. So that's pretty rad. And now we spoke about the climate control, but underneath that, you've now got a wireless phone charger, a little bit of storage next to that. There you've got your 8-speed automatic transmission, 2 cup holders, and then a separate section just for your off-roading features. So here you're able to lock your center differential, you're able to lock your rear differential, as well as activate and deactivate your sway bar, which you couldn't do before. But what that means is that with it deactivated, you're now able to get a lot more wheel articulation when going off-road, so you can have a lot more travel within your wheel. But when it's activated, you don't get that, so it does give you a little bit more of a firmer drive and less kind of sway and boatiness about the car that what you maybe would have got before. So that's quite a nice addition. Some other cool features in the Prado include a fridge underneath your armrest that you can turn on and off as and when you need it, as well as a nice sunroof that when open will allow some more light in here to make your already big cabin feel a lot lighter and bigger. And then to speak a little bit about the comfort and what it's like to drive. So firstly, from the driver's seat, I'm sitting very comfortably. There's a lot of adjustments in the seats here with electronically adjustable settings, seat memory. You've got these armrests that you can sit on, so you do feel like you're sitting in a bit of a throne. You're sitting quite high up in traffic. You've got the heads-up display that's available in this car too. And to add to that, for the first time here, you've got electronic power steering. Now before you would have had hydraulic power steering, but with the electronic, I feel like it's a little bit more responsive and it feels a little bit more nicer and maybe that slightly bit more premium to drive. And when it comes to comfort, you also don't really want to hear the engine. You want to just feel like you're driving along in something that isn't too loud up front there. Now that's not really the case here because the engine is quite loud. I mean, we know from the Fortune and the Hilux, you can definitely hear that it's a diesel working up in front there. So you can still hear the engine, which maybe could take a little bit away from a driving experience if you're looking for something a little bit more refined. But this is a Prado, so I don't think that people buying this are going to mind too much. This Prado has also got a lot more advanced safety systems. So you've got the lane keep assist, you've got the forward collision warning, you've got the rear cross traffic alert, you've got the adaptive cruise control. So you've got everything that you need for a car to always just have your back in those moments when you might just take your eyes off the road for a split second. It's going to warn you, it's going to keep you safe, so you should feel pretty secure and happy inside this, especially traveling with your family on road trips where you might just take your eyes off the road for a split second. This Prado's got you. Now this Prado is more than just about comfort for the driver because you can seat 7 people in here. So you and your 6 passengers need to be quite comfortable, and I'm pretty sure that they will be because you can seat 3 of them in the rear here, and back here they've also got USB Type-C, they've got their own climate control, they can change the temperatures as they want, they aren't dictated by what the driver wants, so you can have your own little Amazon climate back there if you want to. And then you've also got 2 seats right at the back for additional 2 passengers. Now what's cool about those seats is that they sit completely flat and hidden within the boot floor until you actually need them. So you can utilize this as a standard 5-seater, having a full boot to use up until you need to obviously haul along 6 additional passengers, and then it's really simple to get those seats up. It doesn't take any effort at all. I mean, there's buttons from the rear to be able to bring them up and down, and there's a button that you can operate from the middle row over here, that if you also just want to pop the seats up and down, you can do that too. So it's very simple to operate them, and just to get into them from the middle row here, you've just got to pop that seat forward and you can access that quite easily, and you can see how these seats just kind of flop into position to make that entrance really easy and convenient. I mean, your passengers in the rear seats have even got their own heated seats and cooled seats. So everyone in the cabin is going to be just as comfortable as the driver. Maybe not the 2 people in the far back, because they'll feel quite squished and they won't have heated or cooled seats, but they're still driving in a really cool retro looking Toyota Land Cruiser Prado. Now I'm sure you would have noticed during the recording of this video that the camera has had a few moments of being quite rattly. Now it hasn't been the most stabilized in here. That's because you aren't on air suspension, and because this is set up as predominantly an off-roader, your suspension is going to be very firm. So while in here you can feel a lot of the imperfections in the road and the bumps and things like that, which does travel through into the car, but what it does handle quite well is speed humps and bigger bumps. The suspension does kind of absorb them a little bit better than what you would think, but from a daily point of view, it's quite bumpy in here. And then to talk a little bit about the drive modes. So you've got 2 buttons to choose from. You can just change your general drive modes, which is going to be your Eco, Normal and Sport, which is going to make the car a little bit more responsive or not responsive, just to obviously save some fuel if you want to. But the other button is for your off-roading drive modes. So once you select that, you can then use the same rotary dial, and here you're able to choose between auto, dirt, sand, mud and deep snow. Cool little animations come on screen, and they really utilize this full digital display to make it also feel a little bit more modern and more interactive as a car is in 2024. I love it. And then to talk a little bit about the interior, the materials used and the build quality. Now, it goes without saying that this is still a Toyota, so it's built solidly. They've used good materials. There's soft touch materials across the dash. There's soft touch materials on top of the doors for the armrests, so you sit comfortably and it feels like you're in a very refined interior. Now, unfortunately, it's very black inside here. They haven't used any contrasting colors and textures and things like that. Unfortunately, there's a little strip here on the front of the dash, but that doesn't really do much. But otherwise, it's just that soft touch vinyl material, plastics and things like that. The only bit that is really different is here around the gear selector area. They've used a bit of a goldy or bronze color, but the choice of seats wouldn't be the one that I'd go for. I'm not a huge fan of this brown interior. For me, black and brown doesn't go well together on the inside of a car. This needs to either be tan or just go black. This brown and that is, for me, it's no bueno. Okay, now let's take a quick little walk around of the new Prado. I know you enjoyed this last time, so let's do it again with this big boxy, retro-looking SUV from Toyota. Now, starting off from the front, this is where you can see all of that square and rectangular styling I was telling you about all along. From this big grille in front here, the square grills inside over there and over there, as well as these rectangular headlights with this daytime running light that looks absolutely awesome. And then coming down the side, you can see the squareness and rectangular shape and styling continues with these big wheel arches filled with these nice 19-inch wheels with all-terrain tires. You've got side steps to get inside because this is pretty high. As you can see, you've got a nice step up of the window in here for your passengers in the rear to get a nice view. Coming around the back, one of my favorite features of the back has to be this window here, which will open when the car's unlocked. Just like this, for you to easily come in and grab your groceries or your kids from those rear seats. And that boxy square design carries through into the rear as well. As you can see, all these elements have got sharp lines, squares, rectangles. This is what the new Prado is all about, all the way to these nice rectangular LED rear tail lights and the black badging VXR. This is the new Prado. Now, if you're in the market for a Toyota Land Cruiser Prado, whether it's a new one or an old one or any Toyota, then go check one out on changecars.co.za. They're a website that sells new and used cars, but the best thing about them is they vet and check every single dealership that sells cars on their website, so they know exactly who they are and what they're selling, keeping them in full control of what they're selling and the quality of cars that customers are buying from them. Now, the great thing about Change Cars on their website is that it's a hub for everything automotive. So you can go and watch car reviews, you can read articles, you can do financial things like seeing what you can afford per month. You can also get motoring advice. The list goes on. You can even bring them quotes from dealerships that aren't on Change Cars, and not only will they match the quotes, but they'll beat it too. So go check out changecars.co.za. They're also a proud partner of Greg Dennis Reviews. And then onto the verdict in the form of the GDR test. Should you get it, drive it, or remove it from the list of cars that you're looking at? Now, for me, I would say go and get this. If you're in the market for a big SUV, a family 7-seater, or just a really nice, comfortable and reliable 5-seater adventure SUV, then I don't think you're going to be upset with the fact that you're choosing the new Toyota Land Cruiser Prado. For this VXR version at just over 1.4 million rand, I think that's really good value for money. You're getting a good engine up front, you're getting a really reliable engine up front, and you're obviously getting the Toyota name to back up everything. Now, there's 4 words for me that best describe this Prado, and that's going to be reliable, refined, comfortable, and capable. Now, if you're looking for a car that needs to tick all those boxes, then don't look further than the new Toyota Prado. Now, the Land Rover Defender was always my first choice when it came to a family adventure vehicle, just because of how premium and quality it was. But it really got you thinking that if you can get a Prado like this, and for what you're getting here, for 200,000 rand less than an entry-level Defender 90, I think that's going to make a lot of people think twice when coming into this category to look for a car. So thank you for watching another Greg Dennis review. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you learned a whole bunch more about this new Toyota Land Cruiser Prado. And if you did, please will you drop a like below, and if you want to see more videos like this and other car related content, then please subscribe. And until then, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.